After the Quaker persecution, the Puritans were at a point of instability. This was due to the fact that King Charles II made it increasingly clear that the old charter might be revoked altogether. The foundations that the Puritans built themselves on had been lost. The clergymen were participating in open party bickering. It looked as if the holy experiment was ending. The people of the Bay felt that their future was in question, so their anxiety levels were extremely high. They had lost their foundation of brotherhood, and their future was completely in question. Their foundations of political, social, and government ways were disappearing. The original Puritans had cleared the wilderness to create the pleasant gardens of Christ. The present Puritans created an imaginary wilderness filled with fiery flying serpents, dens of lions, and droves of devils. The witchcraft hysteria began in the home of Reverend Samuel Parris. Young girls aged 9 to 20 found themselves spending their afternoons with Tituba, who was well versed in skills of magic arts from her home of Barbados. The girls were secluding themselves and sharing secrets that were causing concern. The girls began to shake, scream, convulse, and make noises like the barking of a dog.
Woof woof.
A doctor came to diagnose the girls, and the only conclusion he could make was that they were bewitched by the devil. The ministers concluded that the afflicted girls needed to identify the witches harassing them. They finally singled 3 women, Tituba, Sarah Good, and Sarah Osborne. The young girls picked out 3 women who were already under social scrutiny. A preliminary hearing was set at once, and the woman would be held for trial. During Tituba's trial, she announced that many other people in the colony were engaged in the devil's conspiracy. The colony looked at the girls as diviners who were able to point out the other witches in the colony. They went throughout the whole community accusing women of witchcraft. After some period of time, the Salem jail was filled with people awaiting trial. Their word was so little questioned that respected people found themselves in chains. 6 women had been hung, and still the accused poured in. The girls were working their way up the social ladder and across the country, and ever so slowly a bit of skepticism began. However, the girls were called to Andover to help flush out whatever witches remained. They were able to identify 50 witches in the space of a few hours. It was now at the point that the only people left to accuse as witches were highly respected people in the colony, resulting in the questioning of their credibility. The girls accused Samuel Willard, a pastor and president of Harvard, of being a witch, and the magistrates flatly told them they were mistaken. Leaders started to question the whole situation and whether the evidence accepted in witchcraft hearings was really suited to the emergency at hand. Some people became uncomfortable condemning the accused solely to the testimony of some excited girls. Thus, the evidence used in court was reviewed. 5 forms of evidence had been used. First was the repeating of the Lord's Prayer, a feat deemed impossible for witches, in curing fits by touch. Second was the testimony of persons who attributed their misfortunes to the sorcery of a neighbor. Third were physical marks like warts, through which the devil could have sucked one's blood. Fourth was spectral evidence. Fifth was the confession of the accused themselves. Those who reviewed the evidence found it to be quite inconclusive. Anyone could mistake the Lord's Prayer while young girls are screaming and rolling around on the floor. The Salem witch trials were reaching their end. Courts were getting dismissed and people were acquitted. The court began to empty the jails as fast as it could hear cases. The witchcraft hysteria had reached its end. Works cited: Wayward Puritans by Kai T. Erickson.